Okay, start recording already. Okay, so finishing your last chapter, which is NPV, IRR, and other project evaluation method. The next part is to go more into detail about risk and return. So every investment or every businesses that you go into, people will always talk about return. Wow, this business very good return. 10%, 20% return. This return is, if they say it's percentage, then you know it's in terms of IRR. When they say in dollar, then it means NPV return. Okay, return. And also another thing is we call risk. So when you take any project, it can be low, medium, or high risk. Any business you do, there is risk. So what is risk? Risk is any uncertainty that you deal with in your business. So any business has uncertainty. You don't know what will happen tomorrow. So that is risk. So lesson 5 will talk about this in detail and take in mind risk and return, not return and risk. So you always have to consider the risk first. Then only you talk about return. All right. If it's too risky, maybe you don't like risk, so you just ignore that investment. They don't look at return first, because any return can be high or low, and then you get too attracted to the return. Okay. So next slide talks about the important business decision, whether about basically it's about risk and return. Risk and return. They don't care about what business you do, what strategy, what marketing you do. You just talk about risk and return. All right. So risk here is defined as a measure of uncertainty surrounding the return. And return is the total gain or loss on the investment given a period of time. All right. So a very simple way of calculating return is to calculate a holding period return. That means for the one period, how much return in percentage can you get? So you follow this formula, right? This formula is very straightforward. Okay, when we talk about businesses and all this, yeah, any question? Just see what we have question. Oh, you can't see the slide. Okay, wait. I know. Wait. A window. See? Oh. Oh, okay. I know. Yeah. Can you see? Can you see now? No. Can you see my slide? Yeah? Can you see? Can I shared the wrong thing just now. So sorry. Can see If no, you just bust me again. Can Okay. Okay. Yeah, so when we talk about risk and return, and we want to look at a bigger picture, we want to look at our investment in a project, or we invest in a business. All right, so we just talk about money, how our money can be used to make more money. So here, the return in percentage, how? Our cash flow for the period plus with our price after 1 year or after a certain period minus the price of something we buy originally divide by the original price. All right, let's take a very simple example. We invest in a chicken. Any one of you like animals? And let me tell a story. Then it's more interesting and easier for you to understand. Anyone got animals? Do you have pets? Come share. Anyone got pets? Guinea pig. Oh, guinea pig. So sad. My guinea pig just died. During MCO, he died. Ayo, my guinea pig. Anyone else? Anyone else got chicken? It's okay. I bury my guinea pig. So now he become fertilizer already. 肥料. Anyone else got animal? No? Why? Tinggi, why you know animal? Anyone got red chicken? Rabbit? Hamster? Cats or dog? You have dogs, oh okay. But I think your dog is just to look after your house, right? Your Kang Xian, I asked whether you got or not. Why you talk about your neighbor? Hey yo. Okay. I have a lot of pets on last time now no. Now I just have fish. But previously I have chicken. My chicken very special chicken, small one, very cute one. I have chicken, I have guinea pig and stuff. But let's talk about investment. We don't just talk about pets. I had this chicken, this pair of chicken, one male, one female. Very special. The egg is very small one, very small egg. In Chinese we call what I don't know what I think it's 珍珠鸡 very cannot eat one we don't eat because it's too small, but it's very nice, very nice one this chicken. And one chicken can be about 100-200 ringgit. So I read it not because I want to invest, but it's nice and also part of investment part of investment. Okay, 顺便. So the thing with chicken is you want to look at a return from your pets let's say. So CT, let's say I ran my chicken from small. I bought it at maybe 10 ringgit. 10 ringgit. For two chicken I buy for 20 ringgit. Okay? So PT minus 1 is the price of chicken that I buy. The price of chicken that I pay for. So I pay for it 20 ringgit. PT minus 1 let me put mark here. 20. I bought the chicken for 20 ringgit. Tiny chicken. Okay? And during that 1 year I have the chicken. This chicken give me 20 eggs. 20 eggs. Okay? This 20 eggs I can sell for 50 cents each. 50 cents each. So this is my CT. CT is cash flow received from our investment in the time period. So the time period is 1 year let's say. So during 1 year, my chicken give me 20 eggs, and one egg I can sell for 50 cents. So this is my CT. In dollar, I earn about 10 ringgit. Because 20 egg times 50 cent, I earn 10 ringgit from selling the egg. Okay, and PT, maybe 1 year later, I decide to sell my chicken. So I bought my chicken very small. So $20. After I rare, become very big, very beautiful. 1 year later, I sell. So the price I sell maybe 40. Okay, so I sold my chicken for 40 ringgit. So what is my return? RT. RT is what? 10 plus 40 minus 20 divided by 20. How much? 1.5? Is it? Can you see it? You get it? Cannot. I can see your answer. Okay, can. So what it means is all missing already. What it means is for my investment, I'm earning 1.5. 1.5 means what? You times with 100. Then you get in percentage. So my answer is 150%. So my return on investment of my chicken is 150%. What it means by 150%, that means if I invest 20 ringgit, I earn 30 ringgit. Okay? I earn 30 ringgit from my investment. So it is more than what I invested 100. If I invest 20 ringgit and my profit is 20 ringgit, so my return in percentage is 100%. So that is why we compare this. If you don't buy this chicken, your 20 or your $20, what do? You put in the bank, right? You put in the bank, you earn maybe 3% interest. You earn 3%. So you compare a business, and if you don't do business, you put money in the bank will give you 3%. So you compare 3% with a business that earn 150%. So much difference, right? So this is the reason why people would do business, because the return is expected to be much higher. So that's why a lot of people study business, and even you are studying business admin, business management. So you want to earn as high return as possible. This is what I want to make you understand. Okay, compared to saving money in the bank, you earn only 3%. All right, so this is an example. So my chicken example is a very simple, very small, straightforward example. That means how you buy chicken and you sell it, and during the time you have the chicken, they give you a cash flow by giving you eggs. Okay, normal investment, people don't just buy 1 or 2 chicken. People buy hundreds, maybe 200 chicken. Right? So 200 chicken, maybe the amount will be much bigger. Your profit also will be bigger. Okay, but having chicken as your investment is not without risk. There is risk. What kind of risk? There's risk, right, in every business. So having chicken myself, very sad. My chicken very risky. Because chicken is health. Chicken will die. Yes, chicken will die. Ayo, chicken will die. Got sickness. And then You know what? My chicken, you want it to be healthy, ma. So I let it out. And my chicken listen to me one. So I let the chicken out. They walk outside. So I go in and do my work lah. Do my work as usual. Then later, in a while, I heard my chicken shouting. The chicken will shout one, screaming. Then I go out and see what happened. One cat eat my chicken already. Hey. The cat bite my chicken and run away. So took my chicken to nowhere. So that is one kind of risk. Because my chicken is very small. So my chicken almost got lost. But then I found my chicken. Yeah, I hate cat. Who likes cat here? Who got cat? I hate cat. Okay, so basically those are the risks involved lah. You have to know. Before that I didn't know. So there's actually risk in every kind of investment. So now or later on we will talk about risk. But now we talk about return first, because return is always people look at and they always show, very easy to see. So if you look at investment, treasury bill, treasury bonds, these are lending money to people. Treasury bill, that means you are lending money to the government. Okay, these are all US example. So treasury bill is like government borrowing money. All right. So if you lend money to the government, they give you 3.9% example. If you lend money to companies, they will give you 5%. And this is yield to maturity, if you still remember. Bond returns, YTM, the R of a bond. And if you don't lend money, you invest your money. So common stock, you talk about buy stock, go into the share market, buy share, 买股票, all these stocks is actually investment. So you invest in stock, you expect to get a return of 9.3, a much higher return, right? Because the risk is also higher. When you lend money to government, consider no risk, because government or the country will pay you back. When you lend money to a big company will most likely pay you back also. But you invest in a company, there is a probability that the company will go bankrupt. When you go bankrupt, you don't get back your money. So that is the investment risk. All right. So when you talk about risk and investment, there are different type of people in the world also. There are people who are risk averse, there are people who are risk neutral, people who are risk seeking. So we want to assume that every one of you is risk averse. That means you do not like risk. Anyone here like risk? I don't know. We assume that everyone do not like risk. Risk is a bad thing. All right. So like you go out today and let's say you look at the sky. The sky looks like going to rain, going to rain. And then you are hanging out your clothes. You dry your clothes, but it looks like it's going to rain, but you are going out for 1 hour. Okay, just let me ask you, if you are drying your clothes, I mean, right? Most of you dry clothes. If you dry your clothes and you are going out, you look at the sky, it's going to rain, but you only go out for 1 hour. Your clothes almost dry. 1 more hour, your clothes will be dry. But 1 hour later, you will be back. Will you bring in your clothes or not? You're drying your clothes. You hang clothes out to dry, but you are going out now. So when you go out, will you take in your clothes or not? Push in your clothes? Or you just leave it hanging? You think, won't rain one, no problem, won't rain. I can smell no rain. So will you bring in your clothes or not? Yes, you ask. Don't play, bring in first. Depends on whether, wow, Evelyn can smell one. He said, I smell maybe no rain. So you don't bring in the clothes. So, so people most likely, not us lah, maybe our parents, they say bring in the clothes, don't play So those are what we call as risk averse. Okay, it's better to be safe than sorry. If not, you have to wash your clothes all over again. So we assume because of that kind of behavior, people are risk averse. They are afraid of risk. But some people are risk neutral. You say rain no, bo pian. I cannot control the weather. No rain, no way, no. Risk neutral. I don't care. It doesn't matter. Risk seeking is, wow, looks like going to rain, but they still try. Pok 一 pok. 看有没有下雨啊? See whether got rain or not. Try. So those are risk-seeking behavior. So you along your friends or in your life, you will see that people have these three kinds of risk behavior: risk-averse, neutral, and risk-seeking. One is risk-averse means you hate risk. Risk-seeking means you love risk. Risk-neutral means no difference. Risk or not doesn't make a difference. Okay, so how do we see risk? How do we measure risk? We based on certain methods. One is a scenario analysis, and the other is the range. Okay, comparing the worst and the best outcome. Okay, so we want to look at the risk of a single asset. Now we look at single risk first. Later on, we will look at double asset, two assets. Okay, so when we want to invest in something, maybe we don't just consider invest in one business. We invest in a few. And you will see that investing in a few business will reduce your risk. All right, later we will see how. Okay, all this we you read yourself. Okay, so how do you look at risk? We look at risk based on probability distribution. So what is the probability? Probability is a chance that an outcome will happen. So if you want to dry your clothes, there is only two outcomes. One is hot weather, one is raining weather. So what is the chance of a raining and what is the chance it will be hot? Maybe it's 50-50. So 50% is your risk. 50% if it's hot, is no risk. So your probability is 50 and 50. 50%, 50%. All right. So if we look at we skip a few here we come here. We come here. If you look at this graph before, have you seen this graph before? Yeah, I think you have learned this in statistics. Statistics taught by Mr. Heng, right? Statistics, and you will look at this graph. This graph is called a normal distribution graph. So what is a normal distribution graph? Normal distribution states that if the what we call if the sample size, if our businesses is big enough, then there is many different kinds of probability that will happen. But the average, there will be an average. Okay, so the average is this 15%. And the average would mean that it is the most likely that it will happen. So if let's say, if you think about risk in terms of raining or not raining, okay, so this is raining, this is not raining. So the most likely that it will be 50-50. it will be most likely, I'm not sure, rain or not raining. Okay, here, middle. But then the likelihood of raining, it will be going down. Rain heavily, rain little bit, or this is very hot and less hot. Okay, so if you look at this, maybe this can be your temperature. 5 degrees, 7 degrees, 15 degrees. So the most likely is always in the middle, the average. And this rain heavily or very hot, it is very unlikely. So probability density is the likelihood. How many percent that this will happen? How many percent that this will happen? How many percent this will happen? Okay, I know it's a bit confusing, but any questions so far? I can't see your slides. I can see your question. I need to see. Okay, no question. Any questions? Stop me, Okay. So we skip this first. We go into how to measure risk and return. So when you want to go into a business, I mean, a lot of your parents, and now you are still a student, your parents will say, don't do this, very risky. When you are small, your parents will say, don't climb because you will fall. So falling is a risk. But if you don't fall, what you get? Your return, no? Your return means you can climb successfully. You feel happy. That's your return. But what's your risk? Your risk is you fall and you hit your head. All right. So that is the risk. So when you grow bigger, your risk and return changes. So now I don't climb because I know I can climb. No return also. So our risk and return will come from our decision making, our decision to study, our decision to take a degree, our decision to do a business. So our decision to do a business will have different kind of risk, different kind of return. So in this period, many people are doing online business, right? And there are some kind of business that are more risky, some kind of business less risky. So during MCO, the high risk one will be travel business. If you operate a hotel, if your business is a hotel, what is the risk that nobody will stay? 100%, because nobody can stay, nobody can travel. That is during MCO. So what most people do, people still need to eat, right? People still need to eat, and some people cannot cook. So some of these businesses, they come up, they do online food delivery. So food delivery is also risky because yes, it is lower risk than travel, because people who do not travel, they still need to eat. But you still need to cook well so that people will like your food. So that is risk lah. So let's say during MCO, you do a food delivery business. You cook and you deliver. So your business, there is 25%. If you look at just asset A, I'm giving you in terms of real life example, so you can relate, you can understand better. All right. So asset A, that means your food delivery business. 25%, it is a success. It is not so successful. Sorry, not so successful. 25% not so successful. Your return will be 13%. If your business is okay, not too bad, 50% likelihood, and the return will be 15%. But also very likely that your online food business, very good business, 25%. Okay, so you see that 25, 50, 25, this is 100%. So you divide your possibility into 3 different scenarios: bad, good, and better. Bad, good, and better. So even in the bad condition, you cook and you deliver, you still earn a small percentage. All right. So you want to consider all three possibility and all three possible return to find your average return. So I consider bad business, good business, and very good business. My average return is 15%. So how do I calculate my average return? I take my probability of this will happen times with the return that I will get if that happens. Okay, so this one times this one times this, and this one times this. So this times this, and times this, we get this. And we add them all together, we get this. This is the expected return we get by doing this business. All right. So another business that we do, this one is food delivery lah. Right, and I'm sure, I don't know lah whether because this Facebook is very amazing. They know what you like. They usually show only things that you like. So my asset B, I would say another kind of business. They don't do food delivery, but they do another. They do durian. They sell durian. An example, So this is bad business. Likelihood it will be bad, then the return will be only 7%. So I will do durian business. I will sell durian online, but I only will get 7% because the response may be bad. Pessimistic means bad, negative response. Most likely means good. If my response, people do buy from me durian, then my response is good. I get 15% return. And if my response is very good, durian, sell durian, my return will be 23%. So you see the difference between selling durian. My response is if many people buy, my return will be more than food delivery. Right? But if my response is bad, the durian business will be worse than my food delivery. So just by looking at that, we can see that selling durian is more risky. Although the return is the same. Selling durian and selling food, the return is the same. Expected return is the same. 15%, 15%. Alright? But looking at the returns based on the probability, if this bad against this bad and this good against this good, the durian business is a very wide range. That means higher risk. You see, if good means 23%, if bad means 7%. However, if you sell food, if good means 17, if bad means 13. The range is not so big. That means it is safer to sell food than to sell durian. But why do people sell durian? Because people aim for this. People like high risk because people like high return. Okay, the same reason for people to buy Toto, buy number, betting, gambling. Why people gamble? Because they want this high return. But they do not know that high return means high risk. Okay, so now we see the return in terms of percentage. We see the return is the same. But I will say that for asset B, the risk is high. Okay, but how do we know the risk is high? Okay, let's discuss a while. I talk too much. Anything you want to say? Okay, let's discuss a while. Based on the example I gave you, selling food and selling durian. Why do you say, based on the numbers, why do you think selling durian is high risk? Why do you think selling food is lower risk? Okay, basically food, because anyone will eat food. Durian, not everyone will eat durian. Right, that is one main thing. So that is why, based on this, I will give the example like this. Asset A, normal food. Asset B, selling durian. Okay, the return is the same, 15-15. Expected return is the same, 15%, 15%. But which one has higher risk? We don't know, right? So now we see. So how do we see expected return? Expected return is the average of an investment is expected to produce over time. So it's expected return is not the actual return that you will get. It is expected. You predict. You predict based on what? Based on probability. So that is why, how do you calculate your expected return? This thing is the sum. Sum of return times with probability. Okay, so how do we calculate this? The return times with probability plus with the return times with probability B, and the return times with the probability C. We add them all up. This is the expected return. So based on these three response in the market, this is my expected return. Same goes to B. All right, this is the expected return, what you expect to get. But again, once we talk about return, we also have to consider the risk. So what is the risk? Risk is the probability. Okay, you see the return is the same, right? So now we want to talk about risk. So what is risk? Risk is the probability that your expected return, the actual return that you get, is far away from your expected return. Okay, so example, when I'm saying asset A is your food delivery business. Return is 15%. All right, and your risk is 1%. Okay, risk, big R, risk 1%. This one risk is 2%. Okay, what it means? If your risk is 1%, it means that your expected return, 15%, it may be higher by 1% or it may be lower by 1%. It can be 14% or it can be 16%. Because this is expected. This is what you guess. You don't know what is the risk. This is expected. This is what you guess. So if you guess that the return is same, it's same lor. You do not know which is better because the return is the same. But if you look at the risk, it means if your risk is 1%, it means that your expected return is could be higher or lower by 1%. But this one, if the at the bottom selling durian, if the risk is 2%, it means that if your expected is 15%, you can possibly get higher by 2%. It can be 17%, or it can be lower by 2%. It can be 13%. So your expected is 15. Your risk will tell you that how much it will be different from your expectation. So the lower the risk here is better. That means you are more likely to get expected return that you calculate. If your risk is very high, you are more likely not to get your expected return. Understand or not so far? Do you understand what I'm saying? Everyone? Okay or not? Okay. Sure or not? Okay, okay. Thank you. Okay. Anything just stop me lah. Later after I finish, you can just ask me questions also. Okay, so how do we measure risk? How do we calculate risk? So many things we say, hey, this one high risk, this one low risk. People say risk, but how do we calculate risk? Because when we calculate risk, then we can compare. All right, how do we calculate risk? We use this formula. This means standard deviation. All right, standard deviation. That means how far your return, your actual return may be different from your expected return. So as I said, your expected return is 15%, 15. So if your standard deviation is high, that means very likely your actual return will be very far from your expected return. But if your standard deviation is low, or when your standard deviation is zero, let's say your standard deviation is zero, that means 100%, your return will be 15%. Means very, very sure your return is 15%. No risk, no change, no risk. That is when your standard deviation is zero. But most likely many investment, many business, standard deviation is not zero. Sure got risk one. So the risk comes from this formula. How do we take this? How do we calculate? We take return for probability 1 minus expected return square times probability times uh, times probability. So what's the formula? It's like this. So we look at asset A again. All right. So how do we calculate? You see, remember, you see this, this is the sum of R minus R bar. This is the expected return. Okay. R minus expected return times with probability. This one square, and then the sum with square root. So how do we calculate the risk? We take this 13% minus the 15%, which is the expected return we calculate. 13 minus 15. Okay, so negative 2. This one what? Times with probability. No. Yeah. Square. Because this formula. We are just following this formula based on this. Alright. This minus this. So this minus this. Square. Times with probability. Okay. This minus this. Square. Times with probability. Equals to how much? Alright. Second one, this minus this equals to 0. So 0 lah. This third one, this minus this 2 square 4 times with, what's this 0.25? Yeah, this is the probability. Times with this, you get this. Alright, so the total of this sum is 2%. And how do you find the risk? We square root of this 2%. We get 1.14. Alright, I won't go so much into calculation. We just want to compare the risk now. Alright, so we found asset A punya risk 1.41%. We put risk in numbers, easier to compare. We don't want to just say high risk, low risk, high risk, low risk. We put in number. So asset A, the return is 15%. You see, the expected return is 15%. And the risk is 1.41%. So we got the return and risk for A. So the return for A is the same as return for B. But what about the risk? The risk is 1.41% for A. What about B? B is 5.66. So if we look at A, return and risk. Alright, these two symbols are, this is 15%, 1.4, right? Risk. So asset B, the return is also 15%, expected return is 15%, but the risk is 5.7, let's say. Alright, so based on this finding, business A and business B, both same return. So we can choose any one, A or B. But after considering their risk, which one will you go for, A or B? If you look at return, A and B the same. But if you consider the return and the risk, which one will you go for, A or B? If it is mutually exclusive, A or B? You have your own slides. You can also open your slides. A or B? Okay, I think some of you might be lost. But what I will be saying is A and B, same return. B risk is higher than A risk. So we choose A. Understand? Correct, Wiki. 1.4% is lower risk. So because A and B gives the same return, we choose A because the risk of A is bigger, the risk of A is smaller than B. This is what we will cover in your next tutorial. So this week got no tutorial. You can go on holiday. Alright, so we choose A because the return is the same but the risk is lower. So when you apply in your daily life, when there is two things that you can choose from, one, both of them same return, you have to consider the risk. And of course, you go for the one with the lower risk if the return is the same. Okay, so this is how we calculate risk. Okay, I think I will just stop here because we summarize what we will learn, and I will cover more on details about how to calculate later on, and we'll do exercise on this so that you understand better on about calculation of risk and return. All right, everyone. Okay, I will use my next whiteboard the next time. All right, so this is just an introduction to this chapter about risk and return. This is a bit heavy, I know, because it's something new also. You do not know what is risk, what is return, but yeah, this is just a brief introduction. If you don't understand, don't worry. I will go through again very fast when you come back from your holiday, and then we will go all the way lah. We will probably use more than 1 hour, maybe 2 hours to finish up this chapter. All right. Okay. Any questions? I will stop sharing. I will stop recording.